You know, folks, I don't claim to know it all when it comes to the Sonic the Hedgehog comic book by Archie Comics. Because honestly, folks, I don't. But being a longtime fan and subscriber, which I am now proud to also, which I am proud to say and happy to say that I finally renewed my subscription. That's right. On the 16th of this month, officially gone through and everything between the 16th and the 18th, I have renewed my subscription without any trouble, which I am glad to have done. Because you know, folks, I am really looking forward to this whole Genesis story arc. I am. Now, if you listen to my video, if you watch my video and you go to newsarama.com and do a little interview with Ian Flynn, apparently this whole Genesis story arc is going to be some kind of a reboot. But the question is, how big will the reboot be? Now, according to the end of the article, according to the end of the article at newsarama.com, if you will, it states, and this is from Ian Flynn, and I mentioned this in my video, and you can watch this video and tell me what you think. But it states, and this is Ian Flynn, one of the last things he says in this article, in this interview that is, he states, after that, we'll be picking up where we left off in 225. Now, according to this final part in the article, it states that Ian Flynn is hinting that the premise of Genesis will not completely alter the main title's universe. But Ian does add on, but there will be, he forgot to put B in this article, so that tells me he's not telling the whole truth. But he says basically he says, and this is Ian again, but there will be some serious ramifications. Namely, the life of one character will hang in the balance. Now, they do end the article by saying that Ian Flynn did not want to indicate what characters might be affected after Genesis. But he did state, since this is a reboot, seeing who comes back and how is part of the storyline. Now, ever since this article came out, a lot of people have been jumping the gun. A lot of people have been saying that this is not what they want to hear. A lot of people are saying that they don't have a good feeling about this. While others have been trying to tell them, look, think of it this way. Now, some of the examples other fans have been telling them, either it be at the Sonic Stadium or Sega.com, or even at Knothole Village or Saturday Morning Sonic, doesn't matter. They all keep trying to tell them something similar. Some fans point out the whole situation with Knuckles when he was turned into a living, breathing Chaos Emerald, when he was all green, and how he tried to alter and rewrite reality, because he had the power to do it at the time. Others like to use references and examples from other comics. Like for Marvel. Marvel Comics had House of M. People want to use that as an example. People want to use DC Comics' Crisis on Infinite Earths. They want to use all these examples, folks. And yet, they don't see the real situation. Now, true, this might have some altercation, a small one at best, that will last for a while in the comic. That might last for another 2 years, according to one of Ian's red herrings, as we like to call them. Because Ian Flynn, I guess, has gone on record previously and said this is going to be double the amount of Iron Dominion. stating that it will take 2 years to get things back to status quo, to basically finish and fix the altercation that will happen. Now, from what I can understand, it seems that maybe Ian wants to reboot the Origins. That's one of the suspicions and one of the opinions that fans are throwing out. You go to bumbleking.com and his forums there, and basically this is some of the theories people throw out. They throw out the fact that Ian might just want to reboot the beginnings, the origins, on how Sonic and the Freedom Fighters met. Maybe he wants to, I don't know, do a time traveling story. In fact, some fans at bumbleking.com forum, one fan in particular, called Chaos Jam, said that what if Ian's having Dr. Eggman use some kind of a time traveling thing with the Death Egg and the Chaos Emerald that he has? What if he's going to use this all together to go back in time to make sure he's the only villain that Sonic's ever faced, and thus alter reality and history as we know it? Now that might be intriguing, because then that would mean every event that took place with the original Robotnik would have been for nothing. But then again, folks, there could be the other theory. A theory that I look at, and I'm pretty sure some others would agree on, at bumbleking.com. But unfortunately, if I try to post there, I will probably be kicked out again, because apparently they know who I am. But another theory that I have is perhaps we might be just revisiting the origins, having them rewritten. In fact, Ian Flynn says in this article that this whole Genesis thing is an experiment of a reboot. And many fans, when they hear this, they think, is this just Ian saying that he wants to experiment and see how fans will react to a reboot? I mean, many fans have said that the comic doesn't need a reboot. And if we're just rebooting the origins, then that's fine. Just keep everything else intact, right? Well, we'll see what happens. But, you know, what really throws a lot of fans off when it comes to this whole Genesis thing, folks, is why does Ian say at the end of this interview with Newsarama that after the 4-part Genesis thing, they'll be picking up in 230 where they left off in 225. It's almost like Ian saying, in my opinion, it's almost like Ian saying that Genesis will not have any association with the main continuity or with the main storyline. That Genesis will be its own separate continuity and its own separate storyline, but have an association in some ways with the main continuity. In other words, what it sounds like to me, folks, is Ian is taking a break, leaving us on a cliffhanger, and using this summer to kind of retell the origins of how Sonic and the Freedom Fighters met, meaning that this reboot that he says that people fear is going to happen, that he has even mentioned himself, is just a reboot of how everything began. It's true, folks. That's what it sounds like to me. Like we're going to be left with a cliffhanger, and we're just going to be booting the origins for throughout the summer. I mean, some of the things that you can catch, and some people have highlighted these at different forms and message boards. He says that he states at the beginning of this interview that if nobody's ever read a Sonic the Hedgehog comic book, now would be the best time. Now, some people reading that would say, so what is this? A reboot just for the new readers? Just for the people who are fans of the games? I mean, if it is that, then maybe Ian in his own mind is saying, look, I want to keep everybody. I want to keep all these characters that have made the comic what it is. But I also want to satisfy the fans that are fans of the games only. So how does Ian think of doing that? He thinks of doing that by doing this. He rewrites the origins by saying that Sonic rescued all these little animals, and that some of these animals were his friends. And think about the title, folks. It says an all-new beginning. Why would it be saying an all-new beginning? And then all of a sudden, at the end of the interview, Ian says they're just picking up where they left off in 225. Fellow fans, let me tell you something right now. What Ian is trying to tell each and every one of you is this. What he's trying to tell you is each and every one of you is this. The altercation, when you think about it, folks, the altercation is real simple. He's just rewriting the origins. Everything else will remain the same. But how it all began will be rewritten. Will there be some changes? Yes, there will be some changes, maybe, but not that big, not that major. Because fans, think about it. Why would he say it's an all new beginning and then say we're going to pick up where we left off? It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense unless you realize that what he's saying is this. He's saying basically we're taking a break from the Genesis storyline. We are taking a break. We're not taking a break from the Genesis storyline. He's basically saying we're taking a break from the main story, from the current continuity, the current timeline of the continuity, and we're going back in time, folks, and retelling the origins. That's what it sounds like to me. It sounds like to me that that's exactly what Ian's got planned. He's planning on retelling the origins of how it all began. How Sonic, along with the Freedom Fighters, first started fighting Eggman. Now, the one thing that throws off a lot of fans is these little quotations. These little sayings by Dr. Eggman that are shown in the sketch previews for Sonic Genesis. Things like, say, it's all part of the game. Was the most recent one in 222. And it makes fans think and wonder, is Eggman going to be transporting Sonic and his friends into a virtual world? Will they have to win this game to defeat him? Again, folks, it sounds like to me that we're just revisiting things. Something will happen in with Genesis which will alter the continuity, yes, but not as much as people say. And fans, you got to take a look at what he and everybody else has said about certain characters. You go to Archie.com. You look at the data files in the Sonic section of ArchieComics.com, and there's a section about Bunny Rabbit, and they say nothing. You read that entire section on Rabbit, and they have said that nothing will happen to her. So if you want to take somebody